Hello everyone, it's Giselle from Kids Yoga Stories. For today's yoga story time, we're going to go on a pretend adventure to the desert. This book is called Emily's Day in the Desert, and it's a kids yoga desert book. Now, what makes yoga books unique is that as we go through the story, you're going to see Emily in the bottom corner or somewhere on the page practicing the pose that links with a keyword on that page. So you can literally act this out as we're reading together, okay? So, desert, who has been to a desert before? Who lives near a desert? Who lives far away from a desert? What makes a desert different from where you live? What makes a desert similar to where you live? I'd love to know. So let's have a look. Emily's Day in the Desert. It's hot. Emily felt the intense morning sun on her face. Mom wiped her brow. Death Valley is the hottest, lowest, and driest place in the United States. So here we're going to start with extended mountain pose. Stand really tall, take your arms way up high, and let's pretend to say hello to the morning sun. Stretch up high. And another little tip too is that you're going to see a Roadrunner throughout this book. See if you can see the Roadrunner on the different pages. The family ate breakfast in a shady spot under the trees. We should head out before it gets too hot, her dad said. Let's go. Emily grabbed her bag and ran down the path. So we see next we're going to practice tree pose. Stand on one leg, bend the other leg. It can be on your calf or on your thigh, but just not at your knee. See if you can hold that pose for just a moment, pretending you're a tree in the desert, and you can switch sides too. Emily stopped in her tracks. What is that? She pointed at a creature scuttling across the ground. Her dad took a closer look. That's a scorpion. Don't get too close. They sting. Emily had made a list of animals she hoped to see in Death Valley. She pulled her journal from her bag and checked scorpion off her list. She watched for other animals as a jeep rumbled down the windy road. And here, as a scorpion, we're going to practice dancer's pose. So again, stand on one leg. Take the other leg, extend it out behind you, and lean forward. Pretend you're a scorpion. Are those goats? Emily pointed at two creatures on a rocky cliff. Those are big-horned sheep, her mom said. Wow, see the horns on that ram. The sheep stared back and then trotted off. And look at those bighorn sheep. We're going to practice warrior one pose. So come to standing, take one leg back, bend the front knee, and take your arms way up above you. Pretend to be a bighorn sheep. You can see her journal there. She's writing her ideas down. Those are cool, said Emily. She put a check next to the bighorn sheep. I bet that hawk is looking for his breakfast, said her dad with a smile. Check! That's another animal on my list, Emily exclaimed. Now let's pretend to be a hawk. In Warrior 3 pose, again, on one leg, take one leg out behind you, and you can flap your arms like a hawk. Have you seen the Roadrunner yet? See if I can get a bit closer there. Can you see him there under the tree? Tricky little Roadrunner. Dad, do you think we'll see a Roadrunner today? Asked Emily, gazing over the peaceful valley. A Roadrunner was at the top of her checklist. We'll see. They're pretty sneaky. Can you see the Roadrunner there? All right, we are going to take the opportunity to practice being a Roadrunner. So this is pigeon pose. So we'll come down on all fours And then take that front knee, bend your front knee, place it right behind your right hand, angle the other foot, and then take the other leg out behind you. Okay, this is pigeon pose. Rest on your buttocks, and then when you're ready, you can switch sides, pretending to be a roadrunner. There's a fox, Emily said. She took a picture before the fox darted behind the visitor center. Look, you can only barely see Telescope Peak on the other side of the valley, said Mom. That haze in the air blows in from nearby cities and blocks the view. So here's the visitor center. There's your fox. And we're going to practice extended cat pose, just like a fox. So on all fours again, take one leg out behind you and one arm in front of you. Pretend to stretch out like a fox running across the road. Let's check out the sand dunes. Her dad climbed the nearest one. Emily snapped photos of her parents posing on the sand dunes. My friends are going to love my pictures. And this is a great chance to be sand dunes with a cat and cow pose. Come to all fours, bend, arch your back, tuck your chin in, and then open your shoulders, look up, and bend your back up. So you can go back and forth between cat and cow. It's also great for your spine. Let's see if we can find the Roadrunner. Is the Roadrunner on this page, I'm wondering? Is that what I think it is? Emily asked as she watched something slither across the sand. It's a rattlesnake, her mom exclaimed. I'm glad it's heading away from us. Yeah, let's head back to the Jeep, said Emily. And let's practice a rattlesnake, which is cobra pose. Come to your belly, raise up. You can come straight up on your arms or just put your hands beside your shoulders, beside your chest, and push up just a little bit, pretending to be a rattlesnake. Can you see the little sneaky Roadrunner out there behind them? Emily made a few notes in her journal and then checked off fox and rattlesnake. Check, as her dad drove down into the basin. Holding hands with her parents, she walked along the path with other tourists. Emily stopped and took a few deep breaths. The salt flats were unlike anything she's ever seen before. We'll come to sitting back on our heels and practice a few deep breaths. You can close your eyes for a moment if that feels comfortable. It truly is an amazing place. If you ever get a chance, the deserts of California. After a rough trip down the gravel road, they stopped at the next site. Check out these sliding rocks. Scientists recently discovered that they move along melting ice sheets. Imagine that. Her dad's face lit up. She made a note to research the sliding rocks later. The rocks were intriguing, but Emily was still hoping to see a Roadrunner. And we're going to come down to child's pose, come back on our heels, put our forehead down to reach the ground, put your arms back, and just take a moment to rest in child's pose. Pretend you're one of those rocks, the sliding rocks. The mystery. Can you see the sneaky Roadrunner here? Let's head back to the pool, Dad said. I'm melting. Great idea, said Emily. Look, there's a tortoise crossing the road, her mom cried. He's so slow, Emily laughed. We're going to be here for a while. And tortoise pose, we're going to come back to sitting on our buttocks, bend your knees, and slide your hands through your legs and lean forward like a tortoise in its shell. Back at the RV park, Emily jumped into the swimming pool. She splashed and swam for the rest of the afternoon. Mom and Dad, I love it here. This is the best vacation ever. Emily grinned from ear to ear. And here she is jumping into the water. We're going to practice seated forward bend. Sit almost in staff pose like an L and then bend forward, keeping a straight spine. See how far you can reach forward and pretend you too are jumping into the water. You can even flap your arms around as if you're swimming. Emily and her parents dried off, then sat on the picnic blanket together. They watched the sun set behind the mountains. And we're going to sit in easy pose, sitting comfortably cross-legged. Just take a moment, pretend you also see a sunset in the background. What an adventure we've had today. Imagine all the animals that you've seen in the desert. I'm curious if you learned about some animals that you didn't know about before. What a fascinating place, said her mom, lying back on the blanket. I loved seeing all the animals that live here. Emily snuggled up against her mom. In the distance, an animal sprinted across the open desert. Now, can you imagine which animal that was? Mom, I think it was a Roadrunner, Emily gasped. She smiled, taking in a deep breath. Check! A perfect ending to a perfect day. We're going to come down to resting pose like all of our yoga books. Just take a moment to lay back with your arms stretched out, your legs stretched out. You can close your eyes if that's comfortable. Take a moment to think about your cool, imaginary, pretend visit to the desert. And if you want to take a little peek, here are all the keywords here, all the animals we saw in the desert. I hope you enjoyed Emily's Day in the Desert, and I'll see you next time for another yoga story time. Bye, everybody.